Hello, you lovely people. There are three types of players who play the Scholar's Checkmate. There are beginners, Magnus Carlsen and Woody Harrelson. If you are the first one, you shouldn't play this opening. If you're the other two, I don't care about that. So the Scholar's Checkmate is start with the moves e4, e5, and now white pretends to be smart and plays queen to h5. If you have the ability to read, you know that I've said that this is called the wayward queen attack. You see that it's written on the right side of the video. But most people know it as the Scholar's Checkmate or the Schuster Checkmate in Eastern Europe. So when white plays queen to h5, white is really hoping you play something like g6 and then they win your rook very menacingly. Now, of course, we're not going to do that. After queen to h5, if you want to know how to play against this, you're going to play the move knight to c6. Simply protecting this pawn, and you'll chase this queen away sometime later. White continues probably with bishop to c4 and says, "Ooh, I'm going to checkmate you, I'm going to checkmate you." Well, he doesn't say that, but he thinks like that. And keep in mind, if he makes any other move, you will just play knight to f6 to threaten the queen. And after bishop to c4, of course, you're not playing knight to f6 because you get mated. Instead, the best move here is g6, chasing the queen away, and, well, the queen no longer sees f7, right? After g6, white continues probably with queen to f3 and hopes that you don't see that he's threatening checkmate again. And here you simply continue with the move knight to f6. Now, in this position, there are four main moves here, and two of them lose on the spot, the third one is not that good, and the fourth one is okay for white. But unfortunately for white, most people who play this trash opening are actually just beginners, right? Who think they are smart. And don't get me wrong, if you don't really know how to play chess properly, that doesn't mean that you're a bad person, that you're dumb or anything. But just to know that playing the Scholar's Checkmate is not going to end very well. And since most people are beginners, the people who play this will rarely play the best move in this position, which is knight to e2, which we will discuss last. But let's return to this position. A common move here is knight to h3. He wants to probably play something like knight to g5, right? And he thinks he's smart. But here white is completely lost after knight to d4, attacking both the queen and the pawn on c2. And here's the consequence of leaving a d1 too early, as if you're a queen. Of course, if you just move the queen somewhere, knight takes c2. But if you move the queen, let's say, to c3, there is knight takes e4, right? So the only move that defends both c2 and e4 is queen to d3, right? And here you will continue with the powerful move d5, striking at the center. So here, if white takes with the pawn, bishop to f5 is super winning. If after d5, if the bishop takes, then after knight takes, pawn takes, the bishop to f5 is super winning. And after d5, if the bishop retreats, let's say to b3, then pawn takes e4, attacking the queen. White foams at the mouth, thinking, "Oh look, I'm going to checkmate him," but you just play bishop to e6. And let's see what the engine says. Ooh, the engine says minus 7.6, even though white is down a pawn only. So that's pretty cheeky. Of course, the engine says that this is terrible for white. I mean, look at these pieces, the bishop, the knight. the queen just gets chased around all the time, and you're up a pawn. But anyways, we have just now covered knight to h3. It's obviously a bad move, but white wants to be hyper mega aggressive and play, ooh, knight to g5, and he won't be able to play d5, right? So, let's return to this position. Another common mistake white might make is queen to b3, putting further pressure on f7. And again, the problem with all of these moves is that they don't defend d4. If you ever can play knight to d4 here, sure, play it. This might seem like a blunder because, oh look, our f7 pawn is hanging. But is it? Again, if the queen just moves somewhere, then probably d5 or knight takes c4 if it's undefended. But after knight to d4, the most common move is bishop takes f7. And white is, I won your f7 pawn and you have to move your king. But there is a serious issue after king to e7. This queen needs to remain in contact with the bishop, but that is extremely difficult. The only way the queen can remain in contact with the bishop is to play queen to c4. And once white plays queen to c4, b5 is winning, because, well, white is losing a piece. Let's say something like queen to c3, I will add another trap additional, if white continues, of course, to play. After king takes f7, now white cannot even develop his three pieces properly, because if we play something like d3, can you find the winning move for black? It's pretty easy if you know the pattern, but if you see this type of thing first time, it might be a little difficult. Are you ready? Well, the move is bishop to b4, pinning the queen to the king, and the queen is dead, unfortunately. Because after queen takes b4, knight to c2 is winning. I mean, you're losing the queen. It's a royal fork, but you don't really care about the rook, do you? So, that's it for after knight f6, if white is super mega giga aggressive and plays queen to b3. So let's return here, anyways. Another move here is c3. I mean, seems logical. It prevents knight to d4 and prepares d4. But here you will simply continue on with normal development. Bishop to g7, further protecting this knight if the queen somehow fails. And white might say, aha, I can't play d4 now because I stupidly moved my queen a whole bunch, but I can play knight to e2, and now I'm preparing d4. But here you will set a very sneaky trap. You will simply play d6. And if white now plays d4, black has the super winning move bishop to g4. Well, it's not really winning, but it's great for black. Now, the queen must keep in touch with these pawns. For example, if the queen comes to g3, saying, aha, you can't move this knight, if you move it you lose the bishop. But bishop takes e2 would first follow, and after the bishop takes, because it's ludicrous to take with the king, then we would have, you could take here on e4, I believe, but I think taking on d4 is simply much stronger. So white would simply be losing a pawn here. Let's return here. After bishop to g4, the best move probably is queen to e3, and black continues with the move pawn to d5, attacking the bishop and striking at the center. After e takes d5, knight takes d5. Since the queen is attacked, and if the queen moves, let's say to d2, this pawn would fall. So bishop should take on d5 actually, and after queen takes d5, white should probably do something like a castle here. Because if white plays something like h3 to attack the bishop, then white will exploit the absence of the light squared bishop and take on g2, attacking the rook. After the rook attacks the bishop, the queen and the bishop, queen takes h3 now, and black is simply up 2 pawns and is winning. These two guys are monsters. White will probably also lose this pawn eventually, and white is just losing here. Probably something like takes, and d5 is best, and now knight to e7. So that's it for that line. d4 is obviously a mistake, but if white continues with development, something like castles, you simply also castle. And there is again an issue here. Since d4 is no good, as we saw, if white plays d3 to attempt to free up the dark squared bishop and the knight, well, black again, bishop to g4 is very powerful. When d3 was played, the bishop no longer communicates with the knight, so the queen now has to go to e3 to defend the knight. But then we have again d5, striking at the center. After e takes d5, knight takes d5, probably something like queen to e2, and I would take black any day of the week here, simply because of the more active pieces. At least both bishops and both knights are very active. The queen can always come into the game. The only inactive piece that black has is this rook, but don't worry, he'll come into the game. And compare that to white's pieces. This knight is not on a good place. This knight should be on f3, but white played queen to h5 and then queen to f3 thinking he was smart, so the knight couldn't come to f3, so he had to come to e2, which is not a very good spot. The bishop is, okay, it's a good piece, but it's the only good piece, because look at these pieces, they're just stuck on the back rank. Okay, the king should stay on the back rank most of the times, but still, this is a much better position for black. And in this position, this final move I want to color is knight to e2, which is the best move for white, and which actually is still unclear. I believe black is still better, but both sides have chances. Here you would continue with bishop to g7, now knight to c3, now d6, and now this is threatening bishop to g4 to gain another tempo on the queen. So white plays h3 to prevent that, and eventually gives himself a flight square once he castles. Castle on the king's side, castle on the king's side. And here, I mean, black is better because of the oddly placed queen. The knight is not very well placed, because where is he going? Is he going to g3? And where is he going from there? Not to f5, not to h5 for sure. And he's just badly placed, and this queen is just kind of sitting there. Like, it's can be attacked pretty easily. For example, if this knight doesn't there, then knight d4 would be a powerful idea. But anyways, I think both sides here have chances, and it's roughly an equal position, though in my opinion black is better. Let's see what the computer says. It says minus 0.5. And here wants to play knight to d7 and gets to play f5. Oh, now he wants bishop t6, but it doesn't really matter what the computer says, does it? It could say minus 57, and if you didn't know how to achieve that victory, how much would that matter? Right? But the computer evaluation doesn't really matter because both sides can make mistakes, right? And since I assume a lot of you who watch chess on YouTube, you are not that good of players, like you're beginners, 1500, intermediate, like that. Both sides in these games could make mistakes. And that's why the computer evaluation doesn't really matter, but now I'm repeating myself. Nonetheless, I hope you learned something from this, and I hope you'll never play the Scholar's Checkmate because it's trash. Don't play it, please. Nobody falls for it. It's in every textbook how to play against it, and now you are seeing it here. But nonetheless, thank you for watching this video, lovely viewer. See you next time.